Stargate launched one of the biggest sci-fi franchises in history, almost by accident. Did you know its villain wasn't even an alien until after filming ended? Or that James Spader took the movie because he thought the script was awful? 13 facts, starting with the ones nobody knows. Number 13, Ra wasn't an alien until after the movie was filmed. Here's the fact that rewrites the film you think you know. Ra, the sun god villain, the alien parasite in a human body, was not an alien during production. As producer Dean Devlin later revealed, through the entire shoot, Ra was written as a human, an Egyptian overseer who worked for the aliens, the boss of the enslaved humans, but still a slave himself. That's the movie Jay Davidson actually performed. Then came the test screenings, and audiences didn't respond to the character. So Emmerich and Devlin performed one of the great post-production rescues of the decade. They reinvented Ra as the alien itself, the dying creature that took a human boy as its host. Davidson's eerie, distorted voice, an afterthought added in post. The actor didn't even know his voice would be altered, or that he'd be made to seem alien at all. At the first screening, Devlin found Davidson in tears and started to apologize. And Davidson stopped him. "No, you saved me," he said, and thanked him. The most iconic thing about Stargate's villain, the thing the entire franchise's mythology of parasitic false gods was built on, was invented after the cameras stopped rolling. Number 12. Its two film school daydreams stitched together, Stargate began as two separate ideas in two separate heads. As a film student, Roland Emmerich, obsessed with Egyptian culture, dreamed up a story about a spaceship discovered buried beneath the Great Pyramid, proof that aliens had shaped ancient Egypt. Too big, too expensive. He shelved it for years. Meanwhile, Dean Devlin was carrying around a pitch he described as Lawrence of Arabia in space, a hero chasing a villain through a wormhole to another world. The two met in the least glamorous way possible. Devlin was an actor on Emmerich's low-budget film Moon 44, where he kept rewriting his own dialogue, which apparently impressed the director more than it annoyed him. They fused their two ideas into one script, and when conceptual artist Oliver Shaw suggested that a transportation device sit at the center of the story, the Stargate itself was born. One buried spaceship, one Space Lawrence, one artist's suggestion, and $1 billion franchise clicked together like a chevron locking into place. Number 11. Kurt Russell said no. Because he was reading the wrong script, Kurt Russell was always Emmerich's first choice for Colonel O'Neill, and Russell kept turning the movie down. The producers responded the only way they knew how. They kept coming back with more money, eventually reaching $7 million. A price Russell couldn't refuse. He took the job anyway, convinced the movie would be, in his estimation, stupid, but committed to giving it everything since they were paying him so much. Then came the facepalm. Emmerich and Devlin discovered Russell had accidentally been sent the first draft of the script, a rough version that was never supposed to leave the building. Once the star actually read the polished shooting script, he decided the movie might not be so bad after all. Think about the alternate timeline hiding in that clerical error. One wrong envelope nearly cost the film its lead, and the franchise its jaw. Sometimes Hollywood history swings not on creative vision, but on somebody grabbing the wrong stack of pages. Number 10. Spader took the job because the script was awful. James Spader's reason for doing Stargate might be the most honest casting story ever told. Asked by Entertainment Weekly why he was drawn to the film, he said, "The script was just awful, and that sort of intrigued me." He was equally blunt about the paycheck, offering one of the all-time great actor quotes, "Acting is a passion, but it's also a job. There's no shame in taking a film because you need some money," phrased rather more colorfully than we can repeat here. On set, that skepticism boiled over into legend. One day, Spader refused to leave his trailer until his scenes were rewritten. Kurt Russell burst in demanding to know what he was doing. Spader said, "Come on, admit it, the dialogue is horrible." And Russell delivered the perfect response. "Of course it's horrible, that's why they pay you $1 million. If it was brilliant, you'd do it for free." By the end, Devlin says, both actors understood the film's wink at the fans tone and were genuinely pleased with it. But that trailer exchange deserves to be taught in film schools and business schools. Number 9. Jay Davidson demanded $1 million, hoping they'd say no after his Oscar-nominated debut in The Crying Game. Jay Davidson, a fashion designer discovered at a party, not a trained actor. Cho hated the fame and wanted out of acting entirely. So when Stargate came calling, desperate to cast him as Ra, Davidson ran a brilliant maneuver. Rather than refuse outright, he demanded $1 million, a figure he fully expected to be laughed out of the room. Either they'd give up, or he'd be set for life. To his genuine surprise, they paid it. His feelings about the job never warmed. Davidson so despised his elaborate costumes that on the last day of shooting his scenes, the moment he heard the final cut, he stripped naked right there on set rather than wait for his trailer. And he kept his original promise to himself. After Stargate, he retired from acting almost completely. One short film in 2009 is essentially his entire subsequent career. 2 movies, 1 Oscar nomination, 1 Sun God, out. There may be no stranger filmography in Hollywood history. Number 8. The film resurrected a dead language. Here's where Stargate quietly out-nerded everyone. The people of Abydos in the film don't speak gibberish. The production hired Egyptologist Stuart Tyson Smith to reconstruct how ancient Egyptian may actually have sounded, a language no one has natively spoken for centuries, and to coach the cast in it. Since the written language recorded no vowels, this meant scholarly detective work, rebuilding plausible pronunciation from linguistic descendants and then teaching it to actors as functional dialogue. That's also the engine of the film's most charming plot device. Daniel Jackson can read hieroglyphs, but initially can't speak to the Abydonians because scholars only know the consonantal skeleton of the language. A genuinely accurate academic problem hiding inside a popcorn movie about laser-eyed god kings. The franchise never let go of the idea either. Linguistics remained the heart of the Daniel Jackson character for a decade of television. Not bad for a film critics dismissed as brainless, quick recalibration of the dialing computer. If you're enjoying this, hit like and subscribe so we can keep excavating the classics. Now, back through the gate, because the man who scored this movie was working a cash register when they found him. Number 7. The composer was a record store clerk who became the Bond composer, that massive, swaggering orchestral score. The one that made a $55 million movie sound like Lawrence of Arabia? It was written by a man who was, at the time, working as a clerk in an English record store, scoring student films for free. Emmerich and Devlin had heard David Arnold's music for a small film called The Young Americans, loved it, and handed a virtual unknown the keys to an epic. Then, by their own admission on the DVD commentary, got nervous about what they'd done, since Arnold had exactly 1 feature film to his name. The nerves lasted until they heard the first cues. Emmerich now calls it one of the best scores of any of his films, and its themes were recycled in trailers and TV spots for years. The industry's sincerest compliment. Arnold went on to score Independence Day and Godzilla for the duo, then became the official composer of the James Bond franchise for 5 films, from Price Stickers to 007, and the portal he walked through was the Stargate. Number 6. It was filmed inside the Spruce Goose's Dome. Where do you build ancient Egypt on another planet? Inside the former home of the largest airplane ever built. The production took over the colossal geodesic dome in Long Beach, California that had housed Howard Hughes's legendary Spruce Goose, a space described as 5 times larger than the largest soundstage at Warner Brothers. Inside it, they erected the temple interiors, the mothership, and the gate itself. The exteriors came with their own absurd problems. Shooting the desert planet Abydos in the dunes near Yuma, Arizona, the crew battled brutal heat and a subtler enemy. Footprints. Every take that required pristine, otherworldly sand meant carefully managing where hundreds of cast and crew members stepped, because one stray boot print turns an alien world back into Arizona. Between a billionaire's abandoned airplane hangar and a desert that had to be groomed like a golf course, Stargate's alien universe was pure Southern California ingenuity. Number 5. An independent film that embarrassed the studios. Here's something wild that gets forgotten. Stargate wasn't a studio movie. It was independently financed, with MGM stepping in for distribution, and nobody in Hollywood believed Emmerich could deliver an effects epic of this scale for the money. Emmerich later recalled the disbelief when he insisted, "I can do it for $55 million." A journeyman German director keeping a giant sci-fi spectacle on budget was, apparently, science fiction. He delivered. The film opened at number 1, held the top spot for 2 weeks until Interview with the Vampire finally knocked it off, and rode word of mouth to over $196 million worldwide, more than 3.5 times its budget. It became Emmerich's true Hollywood breakthrough, the film that let him spend the next quarter century destroying the world in increasingly expensive ways. The suits who didn't believe the budget spent the next 2 years writing him blank checks, which, as we'll see, is exactly how a certain alien invasion movie happened. Number 4. The creators were locked out of their own franchise. When Stargate SG-1 launched in 1997 and ran for a decade, you'd assume its creators cashed in. In fact, MGM cut them out. As Devlin bluntly put it, the studio basically took it from us, telling the duo they had no television experience and bringing in TV producers instead. Devlin was so angry that for years he refused to watch the show that was built on his movie. Only 2 actors bridged the 2 worlds, Alexis Cruz and Eric Avari, who reprised Skara and Kasuf on television. The irony is thick. SG-1 became one of the longest-running science fiction series in American history, over 200 episodes spawning Atlantis and Universe. Meaning, the most successful expression of Emmerich and Devlin's idea is the version they had nothing to do with. Devlin says he eventually made peace with it, and even became close friends with SG-1 co-creator Jonathan Glassner. But for a decade, the men who opened the gate weren't allowed through it. Number 3. The Lost Trilogy, 2 sequels that never happened. Stargate was never meant to stand alone. Emmerich and Devlin planned it as the first film of a trilogy with a genuinely ambitious design. The second film would explore an entirely different mythology from the Egyptian one, and the third would tie them together, revealing, in Devlin's words, that all mythologies are actually tied together with a common thread that we haven't recognized before. Devlin hoped to bring back Russell and Spader, who reportedly expressed interest, and insisted the films would ignore the TV continuity and finish the movie's own story. It never happened. Twice. The original sequels died in development, and when news broke in 2014 that MGM had signed the duo for a full reboot trilogy, that too quietly evaporated. Somewhere in the multiverse of unmade films sits a 3-part epic explaining the secret thread connecting every human mythology. We got 1 chapter of it. The gate to the rest never opened. Number 2. This movie accidentally created Independence Day. And there's a myth to bust. If you've seen our Independence Day video, you know the punchline. ID4 was born at a Stargate press event. when a journalist challenged Emmerich about making alien movies without believing in aliens. And his improvised answer, imagine waking up to 15-mile-wide ships over every city, turned out to be a pitch. He walked out of his own junket with his next blockbuster. But here's the myth-busting part. For decades, fans have claimed Independence Day was originally conceived as a Stargate sequel, that the ID-4 aliens were connected to Ra's species. Emmerich himself has shot this down, telling Empire it's simply one of the myths out there. The two films share DNA, the same director, writer, composer, and a fondness for ancient monuments meeting alien menace. But they were never one story. The truth is better than the myth anyway. Stargate didn't secretly contain Independence Day. It provoked it live in front of journalists. Number 1, critics called it a portal to ho-hum. The audience built an empire on it. The reviews were brutal. Rotten Tomatoes has it at a limp 53%, with a consensus dismissing it as a portal to, quote, ho-hum. Serious critics saw Erich von Däniken's pseudo-history glued to Lawrence of Arabia and rolled their eyes. By the rules of 1994, Stargate should have been a footnote. An odd, handsome, disposable autumn blockbuster. Instead, look at what actually grew from it. $196 million worldwide. 3 live-action television series totaling 17 seasons and hundreds of episodes. An animated show, direct-to-video films, games, comics, one of the most durable science fiction universes ever built, all from a movie the critics shrugged at and its own stars initially mocked. The lesson Stargate teaches is the same one its hero does. The experts confidently declared there was nothing important buried here, and they were wrong. The fans, like Daniel Jackson, kept digging and found a doorway. Those were 13 facts most fans have never heard about Stargate. Which one got you? Ra becoming an alien after filming, or Spader taking the job because the script was awful? Send it through the gate in the comments. If this earned it, hit like, subscribe, and share it with someone who still does the 7th chevron voice. Until next time, give my regards to King Tut.